When someone ignores you, it's easy to let the mind spiral into a flurry of interpretations, assumptions, and questions. Why are they doing this? Did I do something wrong? Should I reach out again? This is a natural reaction, because as humans we crave resolution. We want things to make sense. But what if, instead of running toward an explanation, you allowed their silence to do the talking? Silence, in its raw form, is a powerful communicator. When someone chooses to withhold their words, their energy, their presence from you, it's not an empty act. It's not an empty act. It's a declaration. It's their way of telling you, consciously or unconsciously, where you stand in their priorities. And that's something most of us don't want to face. We'd rather chase the elusive while hoping for an answer that soothes our ego. But if we stop chasing, if we pause and truly listen, their silence reveals everything we need to know. You see, we've been conditioned to believe that if we put in more effort, we'll fix things. That if we explain ourselves better, they'll see our worth. But relationships, genuine relationships, are not about proving your value. They're about mutual recognition, a shared dance of effort and connection. If one person steps away and stops moving to the rhythm, no amount of chasing will bring the harmony back. All you'll be doing is exhausting yourself, trying to keep something alive that's already slipping away. Think about this. When someone values you, when they care, they make it known. They don't leave you in a cloud of doubt. They don't play the game of ambiguity because they understand the weight of their presence in your life. But when they ignore you, they're giving you a window into their true intentions. They're showing you that, at least in this moment, their priority is not with you. And that's hard to accept, isn't it? But it's also a gift. It's a gift because it saves you time. It prevents you from investing further in a situation that may not serve you. It spares you the heartache of pouring your energy into someone who has already chosen not to reciprocate. But you'll only see this as a gift if you're willing to let their silence be enough of an answer. If you resist the urge to chase, to force, to fix. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. Far from it. The mind loves a puzzle, and silence can feel like the most infuriating one of all. But if you can sit with it, if you can resist the urge to fill the void with action, you'll discover something profound. You'll begin to see the power in detachment. You'll realize that not every door is meant to be opened, and not every person is meant to stay in your life. There's a freedom in allowing people to show you who they truly are. When you stop chasing, you give them the space to act authentically, and their authenticity will tell you everything you need to know. If they value the connection, they'll find their way back to you. If they don't, their silence becomes your closure. And here's the real beauty: when you honor their silence, you honor yourself. You're saying, I trust myself enough to let go. I trust the universe enough to bring me what's right for me. That trust is an act of self-love, and it sets the tone for how others will treat you in the future. When you chase someone who ignores you, you're sending a message not just to them, but to yourself. You're saying, your approval matters more than my peace. But when you stop chasing, when you step back and let their silence stand on its own, you reclaim your power. You say, I deserve to be met halfway. I deserve clarity. I deserve effort. So when faced with silence, let it be the answer. Don't drown it out with noise or desperate attempts to fix what may not need fixing. Instead, listen to what it's telling you. Accept it for what it is, and trust that what's meant for you will never require you to chase it down. Sometimes the loudest truths come from the quietest places. When someone ignores you, your instinct might be to interpret it as a reflection of your worth or actions. The mind races, searching for answers. What did I do wrong, or how can I fix this? But the truth is, their behavior often has far more to do with them than with you. In fact, their decision to ignore you might be revealing their inability to face their own feelings or situations. Understanding this perspective allows you to step back Observe and let go of the idea that their silence defines you. Consider for a moment that people often act out of their own unresolved emotions, insecurities, or fears. Ignoring someone can be a defensive mechanism, a way to avoid vulnerability or confrontation. It's easier for some to retreat into silence than to face the discomfort of a genuine conversation. It's not that you're unworthy of their attention, it's that they're not equipped to provide it. Realizing this doesn't excuse their behavior, but it does free you from taking it personally. When you chase someone who ignores you, you inadvertently shift the balance of power. You hand over control of the relationship, hoping they'll validate you with a response. But think about this: do you truly want to invest in a connection where your peace depends on their acknowledgement? Genuine relationships aren't about one person constantly proving their worth to the other. They're about mutual respect, effort, and understanding. When someone withdraws and leaves you questioning yourself, it's often a sign that the dynamic isn't healthy. You might think, if I can just explain myself, they'll see my perspective. Or if I reach out one more time, they'll respond, but what if their silence is the clearest answer they can give? What if it's their way of telling you they're not ready, not willing, or not capable of the connection you deserve? Chasing them in these moments only prolongs the uncertainty and keeps you trapped in a cycle of self-doubt. Now, let's talk about boundaries. Ignoring someone isn't just about the other person's actions, it's also about how you respond. When you allow their silence to dictate your emotions, you're giving them power over your sense of self. But you have the ability to reclaim that power by setting boundaries, not just with them, but with yourself. Decide what you're willing to accept and what you're not. Understand that your value doesn't hinge on someone else's ability to recognize it. Stepping back and refusing to chase doesn't mean you're giving up or being cold. It means you're choosing yourself. It means you're respecting your own peace enough to let go of situations that bring confusion and pain. This isn't about playing games or trying to win. It's about understanding that relationships should be a source of mutual support, not a battleground for validation. When someone ignores you, they're revealing their priorities, their capacity for connection, and sometimes their limitations. Instead of chasing after them, ask yourself, is this the kind of energy I want in my life? Do I want to be with someone who retreats into silence instead of engaging in open, honest dialogue? These aren't easy questions, but they're necessary ones. And here's the truth: the right people, the ones who truly value and respect you, won't leave you in doubt. They won't rely on silence to communicate their feelings. They'll show up, they'll make the effort, and they'll appreciate you for who you are, not for how much you're willing to fight for their attention. In the end, their silence speaks volumes, not about your worth, but about their ability to meet you where you are. Let that truth guide you. Let it remind you that you don't have to chase anyone to prove you're deserving of love, respect, or attention. You already are, simply by being you. The real power lies in your ability to let go, to trust that the right connections will never make you question yourself. When someone ignores you, they're giving you a choice to lose yourself in the chase or to find yourself in the stillness. Always choose the stillness. That's where clarity, peace, and self-respect reside. When someone ignores you, it's natural for your mind to fixate on the idea of fixing the situation. You might think, if I just do this, maybe they'll respond, but what if the silence isn't something that needs fixing? What if, instead of trying to change their behavior, you shifted your focus inward? Because often the answers you're looking for don't come from them, they come from within you. Let's explore what happens when you stop chasing and start reflecting. At first, there's discomfort. Silence has a way of amplifying our doubts and insecurities. It's like staring into a mirror that reflects all the questions we'd rather avoid. Am I enough? Did I do something wrong? Why don't they care? These thoughts aren't easy to face. But they're essential. They show us where we've tied our worth to someone else's acknowledgement. And that's where the work begins. When you shift your perspective from why are they ignoring me to what does this reveal about me, you take the first step toward reclaiming your power. Their silence might trigger feelings of rejection, but rejection, when viewed differently, is an invitation to grow. It's a chance to ask yourself, why am I seeking validation from someone who isn't willing to give it? What does this say about how I view myself? These aren't questions to be afraid of. They're questions that lead to transformation. Think about it. When you chase someone who's ignoring you, you're giving them control over your emotional state. You're saying your response defines my peace, but peace isn't something you can find outside of yourself. It's something you cultivate by understanding that your value isn't dependent on anyone else's behavior. The moment you realize this, you start to see their silence for what it truly is, a reflection of where they are, not who you are. This doesn't mean you won't feel hurt. Silence can sting, especially when it comes from someone you care about. But the pain isn't permanent. It's a signal, a reminder that you've placed too much weight on their approval. Instead of letting the pain consume you, let it guide you back to yourself. Use it as a prompt to strengthen your sense of self-worth, to remember that your value doesn't diminish just because someone fails to see it. When you focus inward, something remarkable happens. You start to attract better energy. By valuing yourself, you naturally set boundaries that protect your peace. You no longer tolerate behaviors that leave you feeling uncertain or unworthy. And here's the thing about boundaries: they're not walls meant to shut people out. They're filters that allow the right people in. People who respect your time, your energy, and your worth. So often we fear letting go because we think it means losing something valuable. But letting go doesn't mean losing, it means making space. Space for healthier connections, for growth, and for the kind of love that doesn't require you to chase it. It's in this space that you realize the people meant to be in your life will never leave you in doubt. They won't communicate with silence, they'll communicate with presence, effort, and honesty. And as you step back and reflect, you also gain clarity about the person who's ignoring you. Sometimes their silence reveals their limitations. They might not know how to handle their emotions, or they might be navigating their own struggles. It's not your responsibility to fix that for them. Compassion is important, but so is understanding that everyone is on their own journey. You can care for someone without carrying the weight of their actions. The truth is, people show you who they are through their actions or their lack of them. Silence can be one of the loudest ways someone speaks to you. Instead of filling the void with assumptions or desperate attempts to bridge the gap, listen to what the silence is telling you. It's a chance to see the situation clearly, without the noise of false hope or forced connection. So, when someone ignores you, don't rush to fix, chase, or prove. Take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself what this experience is teaching you about your own needs and boundaries. Use it as an opportunity to grow stronger in your understanding of yourself. Because the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. When you honor your worth, you don't need to chase anyone to prove it. You don't need their response to feel whole. You simply allow the right connections to find you, and you trust that silence, as uncomfortable as it may be, can be a gift. It's a reminder to prioritize your own peace, to choose yourself every single time. In the stillness of their silence, you discover the strength of your own voice. That's where the real power lies. When someone ignores you, the natural response is to take it personally. The silence feels like a judgment, a dismissal of who you are. But what if that reaction isn't about you at all? What if their behavior is a reflection of something happening within them, something that has little or nothing to do with you? Shifting your perspective from self-blame to curiosity can completely transform how you see these situations. Consider for a moment how we often project our insecurities onto others. We assume their silence confirms our worst fears that we're unworthy, unimportant, or insufficient. But in reality, their actions or lack thereof are often rooted in their own struggles, distractions, or emotional limitations. By stepping back, you allow yourself the space to recognize that not every silence is an attack. Sometimes it's simply someone else working through their own chaos. Think of the times in your life when you've pulled away from someone not because of them, but because of what you were dealing with. Maybe you felt overwhelmed or unsure. Maybe you didn't know how to articulate what you were feeling. The same could be true for the person who's ignoring you now. Their behavior might not be ideal, but it's not necessarily malicious. It's a sign that they're human, flawed, and navigating their own challenges. This doesn't mean you should excuse disrespect or settle for less than you deserve. It means recognizing that everyone operates from their own reality, shaped by their experiences, wounds and fears. Wounds and fears. Their silence might stem from fear of confrontation, an inability to communicate, or even a sense of inadequacy they don't know how to express. None of this justifies poor treatment, but it does help you see that the issue is often about them, not you. Understanding this frees you from the trap of overanalyzing every interaction. It saves you from spinning endless narratives about what you could have done differently, or why you weren't enough. Instead, you can view their silence with compassion, both for them and for yourself. You stop seeking closure from their response and start finding it within. Now, this perspective doesn't just help you let go of the need for answers, it also shifts your energy. When you stop chasing, you start conserving your energy for things that truly matter. Instead of exhausting yourself trying to solve the puzzle of someone else's behavior, you focus on your own growth, peace, and well-being. That's where your real power lies, in reclaiming your energy and directing it toward building a life that fulfills you. What's remarkable is that this shift in focus often creates a ripple effect. People feel the difference when you're no longer tethered to their approval. You are no longer trying to pull them closer, which often has the opposite effect of pushing them further away. Instead, you become a source of calm and confidence, and that kind of energy is magnetic. It doesn't mean everyone will come back, but it does mean you'll attract the right kind of people, those who appreciate your worth without you having to prove it. This understanding also allows you to set healthy boundaries. You learn to say, if someone's silence makes me feel uncertain or disrespected, I'm allowed to step back. Two boundaries aren't about punishment, they're about protection. They're about creating a safe space where your value isn't constantly up for debate. And when you uphold those boundaries, you send a powerful message not just to others, but to yourself. You affirm that you deserve kindness, respect, and consistency. Stepping back doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop over-investing in relationships that drain you. It means you let people meet you halfway or not at all. You let them show you through their actions whether they're willing to be a part of your life. And if they're not, you trust that their absence creates space for something better. Silence can feel like a void, but it's also an opportunity. It's a chance to reevaluate what you're looking for in your relationships and whether this dynamic aligns with your values. It's a moment to ask yourself, am I chasing someone because I genuinely want them in my life, or because I'm afraid of what their absence might mean? Often, the fear of being alone clouds our judgment. But when you embrace the idea that solitude can be a place of strength, not lack, you start to see things more clearly. The beauty of stepping back is that it puts the choice back in your hands. You decide whether to engage, to wait, or to move on. You reclaim the narrative, and you do so with grace and dignity. It's not about playing games or mirroring their behavior. It's about honoring yourself enough to walk away from situations that don't bring clarity, peace, or mutual effort. In the end, their silence doesn't define you. It's simply a reflection of where they are. Your worth isn't diminished by their inability to see it. You are whole, even in the absence of their acknowledgement. And the moment you embrace that truth, you set yourself free. Silence, after all, is just a space. You decide what to fill it with. When someone ignores you, the instinctive reaction might be to interpret it as rejection, a subtle yet piercing blow to the heart. You may feel tempted to prove your worth, to show them why you matter, and to reclaim their attention at all costs. But consider this in the act of chasing someone who is ignoring you. What message are you sending to yourself? What are you affirming about your own value? The chase often becomes a performance. We attempt to mold ourselves into what we believe the other person wants, sacrificing bits of authenticity along the way. Maybe you overthink your next message, craft it to sound effortless, but still impactful. Or perhaps you wait for hours, agonizing over their lack of response, only to send a follow-up anyway. Each action chips away at your inner sense of peace, leaving you tangled in a web of doubt and anxiety. But let's pause here for a moment and question the whole premise. Why chase? Why pour your energy into someone who has made a choice, consciously or unconsciously, to disregard your presence? It's a difficult truth, but one worth embracing. Not everyone will value you as you deserve to be valued. And that's okay. The beauty lies in understanding that their lack of attention is not a reflection of your worth, but a reflection of where they are or aren't in their own journey. Imagine instead of chasing, you chose to hold your ground. Picture yourself as a steady flame, unwavering and calm, not burning brighter to catch their eye, not dimming to fit their comfort, just burning steadily as you are. This act of staying grounded in your own worth is not an act of defiance, but one of deep self-respect. It says to the world and to yourself that you are complete, with or without the acknowledgement of others. Holding your ground doesn't mean you shut yourself off from others or become cold. It means you learn the art of discernment. You begin to distinguish between those who truly see and appreciate your light and those who only notice when it's convenient for them. It's about recognizing the value of mutual energy, where effort flows naturally in both directions. When you stop chasing, you create the space for this balance to emerge. There's an undeniable power in not chasing. It's not about playing hard to get or employing tactics to manipulate attention. It's about breaking free from the need to prove your worth to someone who isn't looking. It's about saying, I am here, and I am enough, and here's the thing: when you stop chasing, you often find that the people who truly matter begin to gravitate toward you. Why? Because authenticity is magnetic. Confidence, rooted in self-awareness, draws others in a way desperation never can. Now, this doesn't mean you sit and wait for others to come to you. Quite the opposite. It means you focus on yourself, your growth, your passions, and your joy. You channel the energy you would have spent chasing into creating a life that fulfills you. You invest in relationships that feel effortless and reciprocal, in activities that bring you alive, and in a mindset that nurtures your sense of self. This approach transforms the dynamic entirely. Instead of seeking validation externally, you start to cultivate it within. You become your own source of strength and affirmation. And the irony is, when you stop needing validation from others, you often receive it more freely. People are drawn to those who are self-assured, not out of arrogance, but from a place of quiet confidence. They sense the ease in your presence, the lack of neediness, and they respect it. It's important to acknowledge that this path isn't always easy. The initial pull to chase can be strong, fueled by years of conditioning that tells us our worth is tied to how others perceive us. But each time you resist the urge to chase, you strengthen your sense of self. You remind yourself that your energy is valuable and should be spent on those who value it in return. There's also a subtle grace in allowing people the freedom to come to you or not. It's an act of letting go, not in bitterness or resentment, but in trust. Trust that what is meant for you will find its way. Trust that someone's absence or silence is creating space for something greater to enter. Trust that your worth is intact, untouched by external circumstances. So the next time you feel the urge to chase, take a deep breath. Remember that your value is not up for negotiation. Stand firm in your truth and let the world respond as it may. And if some choose to look away, let them. Because your worth doesn't depend on their gaze, it radiates from within. That's the beauty of letting go of the chase. It's not about losing, it's about winning yourself back. There's an interesting paradox about silence. When someone ignores you, the silence they leave behind often feels louder than words. It echoes in your thoughts, filling the spaces where connection once existed or where it should have blossomed. This silence can be unsettling, leaving you wondering what it means, what you might have done wrong, or why they've pulled away. But here's the thing, silence is not always a void to be filled. Sometimes it's an invitation to listen not to them, but to yourself. When you stop chasing someone who ignores you, you create room to confront that silence. You sit with it, as uncomfortable as it might be at first, and you begin to hear the whispers of your own inner voice. This is the voice that often gets drowned out by the noise of seeking external validation. It's the voice that reminds you of who you are, what you deserve, and what truly matters. It asks you, why are you running towards someone who's running away? What part of you feels unworthy without their attention? These questions can be difficult, but they're necessary. They force you to turn inward and examine the beliefs and fears that fuel the need to chase. Perhaps you've tied your sense of worth to being liked or needed by others. Perhaps you've internalized the idea that being ignored means you've failed in some way. But the truth is, being ignored says more about the other person than it does about you. Their actions or lack thereof reflect their priorities, their circumstances, their readiness, or their limitations. It's not your responsibility to fix or chase them into clarity. When you embrace this understanding, you step into your power. You begin to realize that silence doesn't have to be an enemy, it can be a teacher. It can show you where you've been placing your energy and whether that investment has been worthwhile. It can reveal the parts of yourself that need love and reassurance, not from others, but from you. And it can remind you that your value is intrinsic. It doesn't fluctuate based on someone else's attention or approval. This doesn't mean you don't feel the sting of being ignored. It's natural to crave connection and recognition. These are deeply human desires. But there's a difference between acknowledging the pain and letting it dictate your actions. Instead of reacting impulsively, sending one more text, asking for explanations, or bending yourself to fit their narrative, you can choose to respond intentionally. You can choose to honor your own dignity and boundaries. Responding in this way is not about punishing the other person or playing games. It's about respecting yourself enough to walk away from dynamics that don't serve you. It's about recognizing that chasing someone who ignores you is a form of self-abandonment. Each time you prioritize their attention over your peace, you send yourself a message their approval is more important than my self-respect. But when you choose not to chase, you rewrite that message. You say, I am worthy even in their absence. This choice to stop chasing can be transformative. It shifts the focus from them to you, from what they're doing to how you're growing. You start to see the space they've left not as a loss, but as an opportunity. It's a chance to deepen your relationship with yourself, to invest in the things that light you up, and to nurture the connections that feel reciprocal and uplifting. And here's something beautiful that happens when you stop chasing the silence they leave no longer feels empty. It becomes full of your own presence, your own clarity, and your own sense of purpose. You realize that their attention was never the source of your worth, it was only a fleeting reflection. The true source has always been within you. In time you might even feel gratitude for the experience. Not gratitude for their indifference, but for the growth it inspired in you, for the way it taught you to stand tall in your own value, to embrace your own company, and to let go of what doesn't align with your truth. This is the ultimate power of not chasing. It's not just about letting them go. It's about finding yourself in the process. So when someone ignores you, don't fill the silence with noise. Don't rush to prove your worth or demand their attention. Instead, sit with the silence. Let it speak to you, teach you, and transform you. Trust that in honoring your own value, you're creating space for the right people and experiences to find you. And if they don't come back, that's okay, because you'll know deep in your being that you've never truly been alone. You've always had yourself, and that is more than enough.